Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Alive with AFTV. My name is Marty and I am your host tonight. Before I introduce my fantastic guest, please, guys, drop in the comments. Please drop your super chats. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and get everyone else to subscribe. Welcome and thank you for being here this evening. We have got an absolutely awesome show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about a game at the weekend. We're going to be talking about transfers, and we are going to be talking up to the up and coming Super Sunday, which, guys, is going to be at Box Park in Shoreditch. The AFTV crew are going to be there. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic event. It's going to be on fire. So get in contact with AFTV for your VIP tickets if you would potentially like to attend, and also tune into the watch along, which I myself will be hosting. Ella will be there, and there will be a plethora of also fantastic hosts. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the fabulous knowledge of football. Ella, how are you?
Marty, you're too kind with the introduction. Too kind.
I try. It's
Very
actually,
well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very, very good actually. To be honest, I did have one slightly longer lined up, and I just
Really?
cut to it. Yeah. No, it was. I do try and go for them. How are you? How's things?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Very good. There's not
Yep,
much. We have to be happy with all the Arsenal stuff going on at the moment, haven't we?
yep. So
Um,
let's talk. Let's jump straight into
yeah,
it. Let's
let's
get
get
in
stuck
there,
in.
okay? Because look, we had an absolutely fantastic result of the weekend, an absolute demolition derby, a proper job on Leeds United. They got absolutely smashed to pieces at the carpet at the Emirates. It was a
Mm.
fantastic afternoon of football, and of course, our new superstar got unveiled. Our marquee signing, the player that every Arsenal fan wanted. The player that potentially could change our season and could be a complete and utter match winner. One of many, may I add. And obviously we saw one of a new striker of ours in. How did you see the weekend go?
Well, it was very good, wasn't it? Not a lot that you can be upset about. Obviously, to start off with Eze, because that was the first thing we saw before
Yeah,
kickoff. I mean, just there's not many times as an Arsenal fan that I felt that sense of euphoria. Like, when you just can't stop smiling.
yeah.
It just makes you so happy. And this is one of those signings that I think just unites the entire fan base. Like every single fan is buzzing with this signing, and I think there's not a lot of people that can do that to a club. But Eze, I think, is one of them. And so yeah, I was happy before the game even kicked off, but then with the result, with the football that we saw, obviously, I don't want to disrespect Leeds, but we have to look at the opposition, and it was always going to be different to United. And I think we were always more likely to play the way that we wanted to at home. But I think really, really bright signs. Gyökeres getting his first open play goal is very significant, and he's a player that, despite the fact that was his second game, was just already under so much pressure from the media, from the fan base. Just, we know what social media is like, but he scored a fantastic goal. The injuries, I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment, but the result was fantastic and off to a good start in the league.
Look, 100%. It was an absolutely fantastic start. And let me start. You touched on the bringing Eze onto the pitch, and that was an absolutely fantastic moment. I was there at the Emirates, and it literally it unfolded right in front of me. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and it really truly was a special moment. For me, what I love about that story, it's the full homecoming moment of the boy that got released, who wholeheartedly admitted to bawling his eyes out, crying for a whole week And then went around a whole host of other clubs, Wycombe Wanderers, QPR, Millwall, to name a few. And let's not forget, he suffered with a serious Achilles tear, and that put him out of action. But what he did is he worked hard, and this is a real true life story that he stuck down, he put the work in, on the training pitch and on the pitch. And became a consummate professional, and really went for it. He knew what he wanted, and he went and delivered. And that's what football is about. That's what life's about, essentially. Sticking it down when you need to. And then, full circle, he comes on not just like a lone player coming back because he's done well, as a marquee signing. 68 million quid, and the way he walks onto that pitch, and you know what, the Emirates Stadium, it was a raucous moment. It was
I wish I could have been there, honestly. I'm
so
jealous that everyone that was in that crowd, because it must have been something very
do you know
unique.
what, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, right? Personally, the TV didn't do it justice. Like, it was great to see it on TV, and if you think it meant a lot on watching on TV, and I've watched it back on TV a couple of times, I've seen it on social media, obviously, and I've seen it on a variety of platforms, and it was amazing. But being there in full, like, life HD, ultra 4K, and actually I could see the look on his face, and I could feel the vibe, and it was a
It was
goosebumps
buzzing.
moment. It was
Yeah.
absolutely off the chart. It was just a phenomenal moment in Arsenal history, and I believe that goes down in Arsenal history, and especially if Eze then goes on to win us a Premier League, and be part of this fantastic side. That's the thing, and it looks, from what I hear reports, he's settled in straight away. He's doing extra hours on the training ground, and that's everything you want from your new signing, to be taking this seriously. And before we, I'll mention on the Anfield stuff when we come to it, but just let's have a quick breakdown, obviously, of what you thought of the game and how it went quickly.
The Leeds game.
Yeah, the Leeds game.
Yeah, well, it definitely got off to a slow start, but I don't think that anyone was really concerned at that point, because I think we all anticipated a win from that game. But at one point, it did look like Leeds were kind of settling in, and not that we were necessarily struggling, just we weren't really going at them as much. And then as soon as that first corner from Timber goes in, it's just one-way traffic. Leeds never ever looked like they were going to score, never really looked like they were going to come back into the game. And then we've really just tore them apart. But I mean, listen, I know the set piece FC is going to come back into play this season. But do you know what? Like, I think it's so important that as a club we can utilize corners and hopefully free kicks a bit more with Eze, who is quite the free kick taker. Finally, we kind of have a proper free kick taker in our...
What about Declan Rice, though?
Listen, Declan Rice could
man.
bang a few. We've seen it.
Did you not watch Real Madrid? And then
I did watch it. I did.
Come on, man.
Listen, we know Declan's got a bit in his locker too, but
mate, Declan's just got the techers. That's what he's got right there.
He does. But Eze as well is another amazing addition for free kicks. I just think it's really important that we can use those to our advantage. And I know a lot of other teams will say what they want about it, but I think ultimately everyone wishes that they could be as good as we are, because they don't look at how you win football games. If you got 3 points and you win a game, then that's that. It's amazing.
And then, and I'll go for a quick, breakdown of this game. For me, it was tight early on, and I think there was an expectation of Arsenal to do a job on them. But when you actually looked at people's predictions, they were like 1-0, 2-1. I went for a 3-0.
I think that's off the back of United.
Yeah,
probably,
I know.
Because we saw the way that we played.
I went for a 3-0, and the only reason why I didn't say 4 was because, just generally, because I thought, if I say that, it just adds to the outlandish Top Gooner sort of, this guy is just completely too much bought into what Arsenal football football club are doing, and and doesn't have a clue, sort of thing. But I generally did, and I do see what's going on at this football club. And on that note, if anyone's been to the training ground, you'll see the facility, the stadium, the training ground, the facilities that are there, and what's going on in this team, like bringing Eze out, buying these players. This is the first transfer window that I've seen this amount of players bought, let alone the quality of players that are bought. When you look at, a great backup goalkeeper in Kepa for £5 million, you look at Norgard for 15 million quid, Brentford's captain Mosquera, you look at Zubamendi, a top class midfielder. Now, look, is he better than Caicedo? Is he on to Caicedo's level? Caicedo was 110 million. They play the same role. Personally, for me, Zubamendi does it better, but I'm going to say that because I'm obviously a biased Arsenal fan. But what I like about him is he's hit the ground running. He's silky smooth. He controls games. He puts his foot on the ball, and he's fantastic. And I love everything. And that's a signing I think's gone a little bit under the radar. Noni Madueke, potential to be an absolute top baller. And anyone that has watched him for Chelsea, this guy can finish off games as well. He can put the ball in the top bins. He can, do what he needs to do. He can. And then when you roll on to Eze, we all know what a match winner. This guy will pick this up at the halfway line and he will run it past your team, and then he will either lay it off to a Gyökeres, a Saka, or a Noni, and then he'll go, no, do you know what? This ball's going straight in the back of your net. And it's like, I'll pick that one out, mate. And do you know what? I might do it again as well. And that's what I love about them, them players that play with no fear. They take the handbrake off. And, you look at this last seasons, we haven't had those players. Then you talk about Gyökeres. Gyökeres has been, like you said, the first goal in open play. There's two parts of the Gyökeres situation I want to talk about. And Gyökeres coming in from the left-hand side. That ball gets played from him. He creates that goal. Obviously, the ball got laid onto him. He's got two defenders to deal with. That's not easy, and he goes past them like they weren't even there. Then by that time, 4 players are basically in front of him when he takes the shot, and he's like, mate, check this out, and he just absolutely bags it. Like, it's just in the bottom corner, like it's gone. And the goalkeeper, literally, if you watch it, he can't even get down to it. It's so quick, and the way he does it, that's the level of skill and ability. And I've heard people say to me, oh, well, all you're getting with him is a finisher, and I'm like, that's what I want for my number 9. Like, I don't expect him to be able to spray balls around like Zubamendi or to save goals like Raya or to defend like Saliba. I want him to stick the ball in the back of the net. And then what I love about the penalty is obviously Arteta coming out and saying, look, this is your designated penalty taker. This Gyökeres, he's the guy. He picks the ball up, Deckers gives it to him, and bang, he steps up, and that's in the back of the net, sends the keeper the wrong way, and he rifles that home. That is in another bang. Like, he smashes it in the same place. He knew where the goalkeeper was going. He sent him the wrong way. And that's, when you look at, look, Manchester United on Sunday with Bruno Fernandes sticking that in Rose Ed, and Man U fans will go, look, but he's our penalty taker. He scored 9 out, it's 1 out of 10 that he's missed. I get that stat. But listen, you've got a guy that cost you 76 million quid sitting on a bench, like, and he ain't taking your penalty. Like, what is that about? And that's the thing. That's what I love about Gyökeres. And then people say, well, he hasn't had a pre-season. What he did with Leipzig, he had his pre-season, and that is with Gyökeres. Gyökeres didn't have a pre-season. He's come straight in. He's been away, and not a training. And then he's come back, done a tiny bit of pre-season with Arsenal, and it looks like he's hit the ground running. But I understand this might not happen. So look, there's a super chat that's come in from @LL_Cool_J hyphen OC2UU. LFC will wake you up. Overconfident lot, AFC fans. Look, and I'm going to ask your take on this, but I'm going to answer this, right? Look, when I saw that at the weekend, don't forget, people are saying, oh, Leeds were a championship side. They're not. They're a Premier League side, because last time I checked, they're in the Premier League, right? Last time I checked, they've earned their right to be in the Premiership. They're not a championship side. They might have come from a championship side, being a championship side, and they did play in the championship. I do understand that. But were they at their best? No, probably not. Leeds probably weren't. They were missing a couple of players, and I know that. But were Arsenal at their best? Not at all. I generally believe this team has got a few more gears. I really do, to run through. And look, I'll go on to this Liverpool thing, and I've said this I've spoken about this. Going to Anfield for the first time. This is the first time I've genuinely not feared this game, and I've felt confident in the last 20 years. That is the God's to honest truth. Like the last time we beat them, I think it was in 2011 at Anfield, right? I am not saying that we do not go to Anfield and beat them. There's very few rare occasions,
Well, you
but
never know.
yeah, but I believe this occasion will be that rare occasion. You're not going to lose there for the next 300 years, are we? I mean, there's
Yeah.
going to come there comes a time when we go there and we beat them, and I believe this is our time. You know, I saw the Liverpool and the Newcastle game. I think Van Dijk. Listen, no disrespect to you, no disrespect to Liverpool. I understand. Again, they're Premier League champions. They won it last season, and they won it at a canter. They were absolutely fantastic. They stuck teams away. They're dangerous. You know, their counter-attacking play, their defensive play, their build-up play. Like everything they do it very, very well. And I'm not saying as an Arsenal fan like, oh yeah, I don't care. We're going to go there and we're going to batter them. I'm not saying it like that. I understand it's a dangerous place. This is the acid test. This is the place to go. If you want to learn about how good your team is, you take your team to Anfield and you go there and you play football. And I tell you what, if you come away with your tail between your legs, you'll know where you're at. But I tell you what, if you go there and you put a performance and a result in, you also know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, anyone that's watched Liverpool's opening two Premier League games, obviously they've won both of them. But if you actually have watched the game, I think there's a lot that we can take out of it as fans, and a lot of optimism going to Anfield, because yes, they're winning games, but they're conceding goals, and that's a big thing. Their defense isn't necessarily what it was last season. You know, we saw the opening game. What Semenyo did to that back line is concerning, I would say. So if this Arsenal team go there and show up, there is genuinely no reason with the team we have and the defense that we have, because that's also one of our strong points is we don't actually concede a lot of goals and we can see games out. I really think that we should be going into it with a lot of positives, expecting to hopefully get a result there.
Look, I completely agree with you, and again on that note, you know, listen, I understand the injuries to Saka and Odegaard. I don't know, you know, whether Odegaard's going to be fit or not for the game, and I take those injuries into account massively. But at
Yeah,
the
you have
same
to.
time, exactly the same thing. Last season, we went to Anfield, right, with a threadbare side. And I understand, again, that Liverpool had already won the title at the canter. So essentially, it was for pride, and it was a non-competitive game in a way, if you can have that in the Premier League, which I don't know. You know, there's levels to it and percentages. Obviously, Liverpool weren't at 100%, but they put us 2-0 down before the break, and then obviously we came back in the second half and we played that without, I say, a legitimate number 9. We played that with a lot of problems in our squad. And this time we're going to Anfield with, you know, so what, you know, if Odegaard's injured, we've got, you know, a great number 10 to replace him with. You know, we all know that Eze can play in that position. He can play on the left-hand side. I believe you could probably put him on the right-hand side. And I
Yeah.
believe you could probably play him as a false 9. You know, because of his quality and his level of finishing. Gyökeres, I mean, we've seen Gyökeres. He comes in from the left-hand side, drifts in, and finishes. You know, and obviously he plays through the middle. We're going there with a real clinical striker. I understand Ekitike, you know, they've reinforced as well. That's what makes this game so interesting. That's why it's going to be such a great game of football to watch, is purely based on how both teams have reinforced. And, you know, you make a great point about Liverpool's back line. You know, is Salah and Konate, are they those players of 3 years ago? No, they're not. That 3 years ago, Van Dijk, I would say, was probably the best defender in the world. Like,
Yeah.
hands down, bar none. Like, the guy is legitimately a different level and different league of performance. But it's fair to say that, you know, they've lost half a yard, and I think any Liverpool fan will admit that. And I think Liverpool fans, if you ask them, they're going to be looking at finding, you know, this is why they're bringing Gay in, to essentially bring him into the team this season, to bed him in ready for next season, or definitely at the end of this coming season, they're definitely going to be looking for a centre back. You know, this is something that Liverpool fans openly admit. You know, so look, have they got top quality operators in all areas? Of course they have. You know, when you look at the likes of Salah and McAllister, and they've got Allison in goal. You know, we know what he can do. But again, listen, I think he's 32, 33, so he's in a prime of his life. But it just makes for an interesting game. We're gonna see how these players, perform under pressure, because I don't believe there's, apart from Old Trafford, maybe St James's Park, a bigger cauldron than you could go into as an away team when you're up against 60,000 fans, and fair play to Liverpool fans. One thing I know about them is they're passionate, they're direct, and and they get behind their team at all times. And that cop's a hard place to to play in front of, or behind, or go against.
Yeah.
Just a quick one at 14th Cannon. Yes, Tom, I hope you're well, my man. And incidentally, I was on his podcast. Well, I will be on Friday. Big shout out to him. Lovely guy. Wouldn't be surprised if our midfield was Marino, Rice, Zubamendi to take the pressure and win the midfield battle. It's a really good point. I think, again, as well, this versatility level an issue. Well, not issues, because it's not an issue that we have. We have got players in positions. You could put Marino in there. Listen, we all know what Marino's about. You could play him in the 6, and you can play him in the 9, and you probably could play him in the 10 as well. He's a professional. He's a proper. What I love about Mikel Marino is he gives the fans time. He's a performer. He performed last season, and he come in for criticism. He really did, and he had an injury as soon as he came to the club. That shoulder injury, which put him out, and he did what was asked of him. And I don't think you can ask much more from your players.
But I think the point is that we have options, and that's what we didn't necessarily have last season, and that's maybe why we fell short. And now we're looking at multiple midfield threes that we could be starting with going to Anfield. And I think that's the big thing, is we have players that we can rely on, multiple players in the same position that we can rely on. And that's why I think, listen, not having Saka and Odegaard at Anfield is a huge loss. It really is, particularly Saka, because we know what he can do when he's through on goal, and we need someone to score goals. But now we also have other goal scoring players. I think Eze couldn't have come in at a better time, really, when you look at it, because particularly with Odegaard potentially not being fit. I mean, it looks like he isn't going to be fit, because apparently he left the Emirates in a sling. So we have to imagine that he's not going to be fit for Anfield. And in that case, how perfect that we have a number 10 that can come in and hopefully hit the ground running, which I think is what he is going to do. Eze, this is why I'm such a big advocate for Premier League proven players, just because Eze knows what this league is like. He's a big game player. He's played against these big clubs before, and he scored goals against almost all of them. So him coming in for a game like this isn't going to faze him. Yeah, he is absolutely ready for this. And I think that's just another plus to this signing, is that he is ready to be chucked into a game like this, a huge game, one of the probably biggest games of our season. But I think he has to start in that midfield 3. He has to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, that you make a really interesting point there, Ella, about Saka. And look, he's a match winner. He's a game changer. One of the best wingers in the Premier League, and I believe he probably will go on to be definitely an Arsenal legend and an all-time great. I do, and you're gonna, any side would miss him. And if he was in any side, whether he plays, his first choice against, I'm talking top elite players, but in a lot of sides, but majority of sides, I believe he is a complete and utter first choice. You see that goal against Leeds, he runs it down the right hand side and he smashes it in the top corner past the goalkeeper. Literally, there, goalkeeper has no chance. And like I say, you can't negate the importance of a player like that. But going to Anfield, like, all our hopes were like pinned on this guy, like Starboy, but now it's like Eze, Gyökeres. We know we're solid. Like that back four and that goalkeeper's been together for a few years. It's like the
Yeah,
spine. People talk about the spine
it
of the
is
team.
fine. Yeah.
The base. We've got a solid base which we work from, and then Zubimendi Rice came in. He's been there, for a while, and then obviously we've got players Trossard, Martinelli. They've been there for a long time. And I'll be honest with you. I just cannot wait to see Gyökeres and Eze at Anfield. And just,
Yeah, we're all thinking it, Marty. You have to say it. We're all thinking it.
yeah, I know. It's just it's going to be such a. Do you know what? It's afternoons at Super Sunday. That is what football's about. It's going to be a
Absolutely.
barnstormer. It's just going to be such an exciting, interesting game to see. To see the selection that Arteta chooses to play with, and obviously who we're up against and how the game goes. I mean, let's be honest. And I get it. If we go and score, we go and beat them 3-0 or something like that. I
Whoa.
mean, it's gonna be chaos. There's gonna be
Yeah.
absolute meltdowns, or even 3-1.
Do you know what? Just to touch on Eze quickly, I think we haven't really had a player like Eze for a long, long time in this football club.
Yeah,
And whilst, Eze and Odegaard he'll probably want to play in Odegaard's position. I think that's his best position. But we don't really play with a number 10. We kind of play with a 6 and 2-8. So Odegaard is actually so different to Eze. And I think actually Eze offers a lot more going forward than I think Odegaard does. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens if he does start in the midfield and just how he'll kind of fit in, how he'll play, how Arteta will want him to play. But that Eze Gyökeres link, I think Eze will be doing Gyökeres a lot of favours on a football pitch.
Look, and that is it. It's like this is going to be, Gyökeres is new. Eze is obviously it's how this link up's going to go. Are they gonna gel? This could be a match. You never know. From what you know about these players, this could be a match made in hell. But one thing I will say about the pair of them, they do similar things in the way that where they pick the ball up from and where they take it to. And we saw. I mean, to be honest, what the Gyökeres goal for me is the sort of goal that you'd see from Eze picking it up on the left hand side.
Yeah.
But I watch Palace a lot, or and you pick them up from that area, take it in, and drive it home, and it just makes for such an interesting matchup. So, what do you think about, like, obviously we've spoken about the depth of squad, Ella? What do you think about this talk of, obviously there's going to be departures at Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
Let's get your take on the transfer situation.
Yeah, well, as we've seen, Arsenal have done a lot of business bringing players into the club, but in typical Arsenal fashion, we haven't really had any outgoings. And as we've seen, Arsenal are not known for doing for very good business in terms of selling players. But I think, listen, Arsenal definitely are still active in the transfer window, which, to be honest, I thought Eze was going to be the final one. I thought that was the final piece of the puzzle. Window done, complete. But as we've seen, it looks like Kivior could definitely be on his way out, as well as Reece Nelson. Clubs interested in Fabio Vieira. I'm not really sure about Zinchenko, but obviously he's in the final year of his contract, so definitely will be looking for a move there. But I just want to touch on Kivior because obviously this Kivior deal is kind of dependent on bringing in Piero Hincapié, which is someone that Arsenal have been linked to a lot over the last couple of days. But I don't know what you think, Marty, but I really like Kivior, and I think he's a really underrated player. And I actually I'm not sure if I see the value in
getting rid of him,
selling him, and then like spending an extra maybe 20-30 million on someone else.
What's the fee for Hincapié that you saw?
Well, what Arsenal want to do is they want to do a loan with obligation to buy, but I think it was around like 50 million euros. It could have been even higher than that. But
I heard 60 million euros.
yeah, but which is crazy to me, because it looks like we might only be getting like 25, 30 million euros for Kivior,
with a
which
loan and purchased obligation to buy at the end of the season.
I think is too little. I think
Yeah.
of someone like his quality, and we've seen what he can do. He stepped in the Premier League. He stepped up in the Champions League as well. For me, and he's 25 years of age.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see the value in this move, because we've already seen what Kivior can do in an Arsenal shirt, and also in extremely high pressured games. Let's not forget what he did against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Now that was probably the most pressured game of our season, the toughest game we could have really had. And to be honest with you, Kivior made Saliba look like he had a really bad game. So I just think Kivior's never let us down. I really haven't seen a game in which I think he's had a poor performance. And so yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for me. I don't know, what would you think?
Right. So do you know what? I completely and utterly agree with you on that, massively. So the Real Madrid is everything I needed to see about Jakob Kiwior. How he performed, he stepped in with consummate ease and performed like an absolute professional. Did a job, locked up Mbappe, locked up Real Madrid, didn't concede. And he stepped in and he done this all season. And I think, so I'm going to talk about this transfer situation. This is how I see it, right? So you're completely correct. I think 25 million quid for a Jakob Kiwior is far too less when you're talking about bringing in listen, fair play to him. He's 21, he's 23 years old, he's 6 foot, and he's come from a bad Leverkusen side that went invincible. They're a top side, and they didn't just go invincible, they won their cup as well. So we know the levels, and Liverpool are in for him. Obviously Tottenham are thinking they're going to get him.
I'm not sure they're in for it anymore.
I don't think they've.
As soon as Arsenal knock on the door, it's like,
come on, man. We know this one, Ella. We know the drill with this. Yeah,
We've seen this one before.
Yeah, we don't have to land back to Tottenham. Listen, maybe feel sorry for him a little bit this season, but
no, never.
No. I'm joking. So that Jakob Kiwior situation, he is a top performer, and a team like Palace or Paul, I mean, he's going to bring anything to Arsenal. And no disrespect, like obviously, it's not any disrespect to any team. I think he goes into pretty much any team and adds strength. Again, another professional. Now, the problem with Arsenal football, like we say, you again brought up this fantastic point where we don't do well at selling players. But the reason why is because all the players that we sell are not good enough. That's why we sell them. Apart from back in the day when we built the Emirates, we sold Henry to fund the Emirates. So it weren't we were selling a player that wasn't good enough. We were selling a player because we needed the 25 million quid. Because we had big debts to pay. Now the players that we sell are just not up to it. Like again, the Vieiras, the Zinchenko's, those players, we know that you're not going to win a title with. Well, listen, Man City did with Zinchenko. I get that, but he's come to Arsenal, and listen, he did a job for Arsenal. I'm not disreputing that, but without grinding him, like Tomiyasu. When Tomiyasu came, I remember when he scored against Tottenham, and it was like, Tomiyasu's great, and listen, albeit his injury troubles, but if you're not injury free, or you're constantly injured, you're no good. That's it. It's just the truth. You can't. You're going to buy a player that's going to be injured for 2 years. You don't play. You want to buy it, you might, and that's it. Because they're not going to play. So you're trying to sell players that have really, say Zinchenko, we paid 35 million quid from him. For a Barcelona to come into him, he ain't going to help Barcelona win a league because he didn't help us win a league. So, he might have Man City, but that time's gone. So to get 15 million quid from him is probably realistic, and when you're talking about selling Fabio Vieira, we paid 36 million quid for him. You can't even get any Arsenal. We had to loan him out. That's how. So why are we going to get 35? Why are we going to make a profit on this player? We're not. We're going to take a loss on this player because, listen, unfortunately, sometimes when you buy things, you might buy a car and you might think that this car's all the answers to all your problems, and then that thing breaks down every week, and you're like, I've got to move this piece of whatever on, and that's just how life goes sometimes. That sometimes in situations things don't work out and you've got to move them on, and that's how it's got to be. And it's the same with these players. And I think as Arsenal fans we can have an expectation of thinking that these players can be moved on for for massive money. But the truth is their resale value isn't great because they're just not at the levels we need them to be.
Well, we bought Kivior for £20 million, and in my opinion, he's improved as a player
Yeah,
since joining
definitely.
Arsenal. So then why can't we get upwards of 30 million? Why can't we get 30, 35
Yes,
million? And
you're
also
spot
when
on.
you look at the transfer market as well, the prices have been increased really. Players are going for more than they used to. So it just doesn't really make sense to me why we can't seem to get a decent fee for a Polish international and a player that has proved his worth in an Arsenal side. Don't know, it's a
I,
weird one.
I think you're spot on there. For a player that filled in for Gabriel, how he did last season, I think I don't see why. The Kiwior, mate, is a different situation. And I generally want him to remain at Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah.
I rate him. I do think he's a good player, and I think he's. Listen, I'm not saying I'm going to start him every week because if it was my choice, I wouldn't start him every week. But does he add value to the squad, and does he add depth and cover 100%? And can he do a job that we need him to?
The only thing I will say is potentially there is the sense that he feels that he wants to go and play first team football week in, week out, which if that is what he wants, then fair enough. You know, you can't really argue with that because I do think he's a really good player and he definitely does have the potential to play at a Champions League club like in the first team. He does. So if that's really what he wants and maybe that's why Arsenal are looking to move him on because he's saying, well, you know what, I actually kind of want to play, then
Yeah.
you know what, that's fair enough.
No, I get that. And if he's at that stage and he's like, look, I need to be playing week in, week out. I need to further my career. And I do believe this next move that he gets could be a stepping stone to maybe the next, if he goes to a club like Porto or wherever for a season or two, then maybe, he believes that if he lodges himself in that first team, then a club like a Barca, I don't know, a bigger club might come in for him. I completely get that, and I believe that with Jakub Kiwior. So, what do you think about other departures and potential? Well, not really incomings; they're done. What do you think about who in your eyes, okay, Ella, you're Mikel Arteta. You're sat in or you're Andrea Berta, yeah. You're
Okay.
the golden
The top
goose at
guy,
the
yeah.
moment, the man on fire, the absolute legend, the villain of the transfer business. The bank robber, the smash and grabber. What do you do? What's your next move?
Well, Reece Nelson has been linked to Fulham basically ever since he came back on loan. And I'm quite surprised that deal wasn't done quite quickly. But Reece is definitely someone who I think will leave in this summer. I think he is still linked with Fulham. I have seen links with Palace as well, if I'm not mistaken, which would be interesting because obviously Palace have lost one of their most important players. And for someone like Eze, because he is that good, Palace will end up needing probably a couple of players to compensate for that loss.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that they're looking at Reece, and I think Reece would do a pretty good job, and I would like to see him stay in the Premier League. I mean, I think they were talking about maybe £15 million, so not a crazy amount of money. But if I had to pick three people who I thought were most likely to leave, it would definitely be Kivior, Reece, and potentially Zinchenko as well. But we'll have to see on Zinchenko. He doesn't seem too keen or that he really wants to leave at all. But in the last year of his contract, I'd rather us at least get some money for him rather than let him go on a free. So actually, I don't really care what the fee is. But if we can even get 5 million or something, let's sell him on, and then that's better than letting him go next summer.
Okay, lovely. And just on that note, guys, please, I've noticed, please smash the like button. Please drop your super chats in as well if you've got anything that you want to ask either myself or Ella about Arsenal transfer window, what's going on, the game upcoming, any thoughts and opinions about anything. Please, get involved. Bring up the super chats. As I say, that one's just flown up, which is absolutely fantastic. And please smash the like button as well. Look, if you guys You know, like seeing us as our man Nardu, Ella and Marty. What a combo! Love your guys' work. Big up, my man. Really appreciate that. Thank you. What a lovely comment. And you know what I love about this football space is, you know, meeting so many people and saying such nice things. Look at that, people coming in for you, Ella, with absolutely fantastic comments for the goat that you are.
Oh, I'm not sure I've reached GOAT status yet.
No, I know.
Early doors for that one, Marty.
And
But
it just come on, listen. Everyone's got to have somewhere to reach to. You know, there's got to be
oh,
a
yeah, no, that's the aspiration for sure. But I think
when you
we're a
hitting that,
while
Ella.
off.
When you hitting that,
God, I mean, I am still young, so we got a bit of time, I
what
think.
do you reckon? 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, for 5 years. Let's go.
5 years. So you ain't messing
Yeah,
around. That's a 5 to
you
10.
got
You're
we
right.
got to
Yeah.
have big dreams.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, dream big, think big. If you reach for the stars, you might just land on the moon and all that.
Exactly, that's what they say.
Yeah, good stuff. No, I appreciate that super chat, my man. It's always nice to get good feedback, and also if there's any constructive criticism that you guys have. I know the chat section can be a bit wild sometimes, but yeah, smash the like button and get your super chats involved. So, Ella, like touching on the Champions League, the
Hmm.
potentials for Arsenal. Okay, I want to talk about that. That's a really, I think. I just want to get your initial take on like there's some suggested teams that we can be in with that we're going to be playing. What's your take?
Yeah, well, they all look relatively scary. Let's be honest. The teams in pot one, I think it is, that we will have to face two of them.
Yeah.
Um, but you
Right.
know
So
what?
just who do you not want to face and who do you want to face? And then come on to and your you know what? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I'm not sure there's anyone I'd love to face out of out of all of those teams. I mean, potentially the lesser of the evil is maybe a Dortmund, but you know, you can't really even underestimate Dortmund. Anyone that's in that pot is a top side. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Barcelona could be trouble. They're a very serious team. I'd quite like some revenge on PSG though. That would be quite nice.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Not that we would end up getting it, but you never know. But yeah, all of the
Really?
teams. Well, you never know. We could, but
Really?
they're a top side. What, you don't think we could?
Honestly, I'm going to be straight with you, right? I, and I'm just being real here. Yeah, with this Arsenal side. I have not been this excited about an Arsenal
Oh, you
team
do think we could?
for 20 years. Straight up, legitimately. And this ain't. And anyone who's watched me, you know, talk on AFTV for the past 18 months, 2 years, whatever, they'll notice that. Listen, I'm an excitable character. I'm positive, but I've never been this positive. That
I love
you
it.
know, if anyone watched outside the stadium how it was going on, there was someone that said to me when you know this like you AFTV clipped it right and have a look at it. And I was talking away, I was going, yeah, you know, what a great game. And, you know, then we've got to go to Anfield. And that's going to be the acid test. And then someone who actually who's an Arsenal fan in the crowd went, yeah, we'll go there and get a point. And I was like, what? Go there and get a point? I was like, are you serious? Are you smoking something? Like, what? Like, genuinely, I understand that sometimes, you know, I get that. I'm not a delusional. I watch a lot of, you know, I know football, but that's not the mentality to have. You can't.
I
We
agree.
might as well not get on the pitch. If you're
And
thinking, oh, do you know,
also, these are the types of games that can be season defining and can end up leading onto us winning the title. And I know actually historically over the last couple of seasons we've been unbeaten against the top six. I think it has been over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So actually we do tend to play pretty well against those sides, but usually it tends to be a draw and then maybe a win at home. But I think a win at Anfield is such a big statement, and I know it's so early on in the season that you know it doesn't really mean anything. But I
and
think to get a win at Liverpool, those 3 points I think could end up being really significant.
do you know what? And this is the thing, right? I don't play to lose when you know in anything like life, the competition. You know, what's the point in if we're just going there for a point? Or we might as well just say, do you know what? Don't have the point. you might as well just take the 3 points, have the 3 points. You might as well not turn up. What's the
Well,
point in turning up?
the question will be, will Arsenal fans take a point before the game happening? Like, will
No,
they?
no,
The answer should
no,
be no.
no.
Absolutely, it should be no.
Not. Listen, we've just gone and ironed out 250 million quid in a transfer window, and people want to take a point.
Yeah.
Like, listen. When we built this stadium, right, it was Arsene Wenger said, we are going to buy this stadium so that we can buy because at that time, right, and anyone, if there's any guys, any people that, in the chat or listening to this, and thank you for listening as well, greatly appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Thank you very much. And I hope you are enjoying the show. I'm having a blast of you, by the way, Ella. It's big, it's
Likewise.
great. So, yeah, so when Arsene Wenger sold this whole vision to us, he was like, you're going to be competing with the best in the world. You're going to be competing with the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. You're going to be buying the best players in the world. Right? For years, everyone thought that when he said it, he meant it right now. No, this is now 20 years on. And this is when we're doing it, because it takes that long sometimes. That is a process, right? That's how. And now we're doing it, and we've listen. This is an unprecedented transfer window when we have spent so much money, and people are like, oh yeah, now we're going to take a point. We've just bought the best striker in Europe, and that's a fact. Like, he's better. He's better. His numbers. There's no one with as good a numbers as him. And then it's the Portuguese league. Okay, well, do you remember Cristiano Ronaldo? Yeah.
Yeah, that old chap.
So where did he come from?
Yeah.
No, where did he come from?
Yeah, same club.
Thank you very much. And what happened with Cristiano Ronaldo?
And he's gone on to be one of the greatest of all time.
Mate, he smashed everyone to bits. He tore it up like an old contract. Do you know what I mean? He was like, running it red. Like, the geezer's an animal. And that's so. He went to Manchester United and done it. And also, don't forget, Gyökeres has experience at this club. And I just don't get now the mentality of going to Anfield. I do understand that 5 years ago, or I do even understand that, if I'm honest with you, 3 years ago. Look, go to Anfield. If we get a point, look, let's not lose. Up until then, let's not lose. I understand, especially 8 years ago or 7 years ago. I understand. Yeah, I'd love a point. Let's take a point. I get that then. I completely. Now's not that time. Now's let's go everywhere. Like, and going to that Champions League thing, right? Honestly, I want to play all these sides. I want to see what these guys are going to do. I want to, and there's no one in that pot, honestly, now. Before, last 7 years ago, 7 years ago in the Europa League, 20,000 fans in our stand, in the stadium, right? Now, I'm like, let's do it. But then I was bricking it, and that's the truth.
Do you know what it is as well? Is we've seen year-on-year progression in the Champions League. And I know last year, well, we could say the same for the Premier League, kind of up until last year, where we did kind of fall off a bit in the league as well. But in the Champions League, and let's not forget, Arteta has, if I'm not mistaken, he's played 2 full seasons in the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
I think. And last year we got to the semi-final.
That's what I mean.
And we got beaten by the team that went on and won it. So, that's fair play to PSG. But ultimately, if you look at that progression, it means that this year, theoretically, we should get to the final.
And I'll tell you what, if we played that Inter Milan team that PSG absolutely demolished, right, mate, we'd take them listen, that PSG game over 2 legs was tight. Let's be honest. In that second leg, there's no one could agree. Listen, if Rice puts that header in, Saka puts that open goal in, it's a different game. Rice put in 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, Rice puts that header in, and then Odegaard that shot doesn't get saved by the best goalkeeper in the world at the time, probably. That's 2-0, and the game is on. And then Rice has Saka has an open goal. That's in the back of the net. There's 3 goals right there, which are pretty nailed on, right?
But I mean, I think that shows how good PSG were. They definitely were the better over the 2 legs. And then, like I said, they went on to win it. So actually, when you lose the semi-final to the team that goes on and wins the whole thing, sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, okay, but this season I am expecting the minimum really should be to reach the semi-finals, the minimum.
Oh, minimum.
because we have to be seeing progression.
Yeah, and a trophy. Ella, do you want to bring a couple of them super chats up quickly? Because
Yeah,
I know that I was
I'll go
asking
back
people
up a bit.
to bring them in, and then I got so excited and carried away with the thought of entertaining a Barcelona. So at 2-23, I'm enjoying the show with Martin Ella. Fire duo. Thank you very much, my man. Really appreciate it. Fantastic comment. And yeah, you bring that one up. So at Pratt Hargrowl 8622, Ella's potential on par with Dowman, bringing
I'll
her
take
in at the
that.
70th minute to nick you a penalty.
I'll take that for sure. I'll take that comparison. I mean, he's a little bit younger than me,
So
but if we
basically,
look at,
what they're saying is you're the Max Dowman of AFTV.
I like that. I'm very happy with that. I'm pleased. The future
That
star.
That's decent. I like that.
Yeah, I like that
That's
too.
serious. I think. Listen, I'll make you right on that. I think you've got Max Dowman vibes written all over you. 100%.
Future
Was there
prodigy.
there you go. Was there a couple of others, Ella?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
But I mean, look, what I'm saying with this, that Champions League, there is now no one. Listen, don't get me wrong. Listen, things can change in football. We go to
Yeah.
Anfield and we lose 3-0.
Yeah, let's hope we're not going early on this one.
I'll be saying a different thing come Monday morning. But listen, I do understand that accidents can happen, and team. Yeah, I'm not saying this as well, expecting Arsenal to win every single game this season. You're going to lose games of football. You're going to come unbuttoned. There's going to be times we don't turn up. I mean, like United, we were lucky to get away with it. And if United were more clinical and well set out, I think potentially the result could have been a bit different. But it wasn't, and we did. We got the job done, and that's what I see we're doing at the moment.
Also, the first couple of games of the season are always difficult, kind of no matter how or who you play, because ultimately teams are still gelling, kind of settling in together. It's not the final product, which is the point that I've kind of been making about Gyökeres for the last week or so, because despite the fact that he scored 2 goals against Leeds, which is unbelievable and absolutely what we want to be seeing, I still don't even think he's fully fit. Like, I think he might be at like 70%. I think he's got plenty more
Levels.
gears. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, he didn't really have a pre-season. He's been chucked straight in, and unlike Sesko to United, who's been kind of sat on the bench, Arteta has chucked him straight into the first team, and he's played the first 2 games. So yeah, I don't think he's fully fit, but what we have seen is definitely promising for someone who might not be fully fit. And so it'll be interesting to see what he's actually like in 2 months so time.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's it. Like, essentially, the guy hasn't really settled in, and has the whole team had. Listen, when you're bringing in that element of seven transfers, right? And Hincape would be the 8th. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes. That would be the 8th. Yeah.
Right. Bringing in 7 players. And I remember Arsene Wenger always talking about that, saying, you're kind of you're disrupting the initial sort of group dynamic that you've got going on there, because it's a large amount of players. If you bring in 2, it's not enough. It's their additions. If you bring in more, Arsene Wenger always said, if you bring in more than 5, 6, there's a potential that you can. I mean, do you remember years ago when Tottenham did it? They sold Gareth Bale and they brought in 9 players.
Yeah.
And it just didn't do them any favours, and at all whatsoever. And they thought, oh, we know. Sometimes if you need to have a quick strip out, then 100%. Well, I'm going to read that. Is that a chat coming up?
Or I'll
2-0
bring it back up.
Bring it back up. At PJPJ 1990, Eze, Saka, Gyökeres, Dalman, Wanyeri, list goes on. I believe it's a treble this year. What do you reckon on that?
I mean, a treble would be quite something.
It would, wouldn't it?
I'll stick with just potentially the Premier League this season. I would be happy with that, but I do think that we need some silverware now. It's go time. We need silverware.
another one. Man U are losing 2-0 to Grimsby at Grimsby. I don't know how that true that is. I mean, it's come up here. I'm not
There's
watching the
quite a few
game.
people in the chat that are
Grimsby, we believe. Yeah, it's if Grimsby are 2-0 up, because I know that some of the tickets for that game, I know we're going for over a couple of £100. I heard of their capacities, I think 9,200 or something like that.
I just want to fact check the score. Sorry.
Yeah, do fact check it before I start waxing lyrical about Grimsby. Yes, AFTV have confirmed it. The
Oh
production have
wow, yeah,
confirmed
it's
it.
2-0.
Look, and
Wow.
Manchester. Listen, I don't know what side they've put out, but I think there's when you look up the period that Manchester United are in now, it's very similar to the period that we were in for a long time. You know, since Wenger, the end of the Wenger tenure. You know, the last couple of seasons when it got toxic, and then into I think for me the whole Emery tenure was terrible, really
Mhm.
bad. I mean, we had a Europa Cup final which we got absolutely smashed to bits by
Yeah,
Chelsea. It wasn't a
I
period
remember
where
that one.
I remember going and watching that, and I was like, how have we got into this final? We're playing dreadful football, and then
Yeah.
being in it and just thinking, I'm just going into it, just knowing in my heart of hearts we ain't going to do this. I just
No.
knew. But you know what? There's a genuine excitement that I have this season. I'm like, do you know what? We're going to do something here. It's a very special time, I believe, to be an Arsenal supporter and be around Arsenal Football Club at the moment. It's a when I look at all the special moments that are going on, the games last season, and leading up to this season, the players we've bought. I mean, it's like sometimes I do feel that then, look, and I don't speak for everyone. I think it might be there's sometimes no pleasing people in general. It's like, look at our unprecedented transfer window. You've got to be happy with that. You
Yeah.
can't look at that and just think, oh yeah, nah, well, we still need more players. How many more players do you want?
Yeah, we can't be too greedy really, because I think we were all thinking. I mean, I said if we somehow manage to bring Gyökeres and Eze in, that will be a generational window, because those two were the two that I was desperate for Arsenal to bring in a proper striker, and Eze I had my eye on from before the window opened. So even to sign those two, and then you look at, like you said, Zubimendi, who I actually do think has gone under the radar massively, and who I think will have a really, really good season, a very underrated signing this summer. And then the replacements, Norgard, a very solid replacement, an exciting centre back option in Mosquera, Madueke, another exciting backup option to Saka. And look how we're going to need that backup over the next couple of weeks. So the club has done the right thing, and they've shown in this window that they're serious
Yeah.
about their ambitions for this club.
Yeah, definitely. So, look, I'm going to nearly wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up shortly. So, look, guys, in the comments, once this is, whether it's finished live or in these comments, please leave in the comments if you've enjoyed the show with me and Ella, and you want it to be a regular thing. Let us know. Let us know in the comments, and we could. I'm sure AFTV might make that happen. At Arsenal FC, not Arteta FC. AFC, why did you not back Emery like Arteta 5 year? Look, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll answer that. Why? Listen, I did back him when he came in, but also sometimes in life you just know situations, and that
Yeah.
was a situation where I knew. When I look at this, like again, this rebuild process. When you look at every single player in that position, you can see they are quality. That's taken a long time.
Yeah.
It spent £1 billion, right? Chelsea did the £1 billion like that because they could do it. Arsenal couldn't, because we paid off the stadium. We couldn't just go and iron out £1 billion on players, and
Hmm.
that's what it's taken to get this squad together. Now you look at this Chelsea squad that spent £1 billion. They're a very, very good team, and that's what it costs in today's football if you want a top team. But we have had to do it over a period of time. Emery. Listen, Emery had some players. Emery brought in, he signed Saliba. Fair play to him. But I
We
did
will
back
always
him.
have respect for him for that.
Yeah, yeah. Listen. I backed him. I backed Emery, but there came a time when I saw the stadium being 20,000 full. I knew there wasn't good stuff going on at Arsenal. I was there, and I was like, this don't feel good. This doesn't look good. This isn't good. I don't like what I see, and I don't want to be here, but I will stay here because I'm an Arsenal fan. Go on.
I think the other thing is, not to disrespect Emery in any way, because I really have a lot of love for him and I really enjoy seeing him still manage in the Premier League. But I think as soon as we saw Arteta came in, and I know silverware has been a problem under his tenure, but which actually does lead into my point. Immediately, as soon as he came in, he saw how the club needed to be rebuilt. It wasn't just the team, which, by the way, the team needed scrapping and rebuilding.
Yeah.
It was the entire club, the fan
Yes.
base, bringing that kind of connection back to Arsenal. It was actually more than just the football. And I think as soon as Arteta came in, you kind of saw his ambition to do that. And I think that's part of what's gotten us to this point right now, is because the club hasn't been in as strong of a point as right now in a very, very long time. And that's including the fan base and the support. Like there's a real good feeling around the club. And who's really to say that would have happened under Emery? We'll never know. But I think it was that initial ambition that we saw as soon as Arteta took over, that he really knew what he wanted to do with the club and how he was going to try and get it back to winning
ways where we're at now.
Exactly.
There you go. So just before I end it, please, guys, please check out the upcoming content on AFTV. As I said, we've got a watch along on Sunday against at Anfield against.
Yeah, but we
Liverpool.
won't be at Anfield.
Yeah, so we're not going to be at Anfield. No, myself and Ella will be at Box Park in Shoreditch, and we will be having an absolutely fantastic time, I hope. Before I wrap everything up properly, Ella, what anything last to say on the weekend? Quick prediction.
Quick prediction. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. We've got to believe that we can go there and get a very important 3 points. And I'm really, really hoping we see Eze in that starting 11. There's no reason why we shouldn't, but I have a feeling he's going to get off to a blinder.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. And look, thank you everyone. Thank you very much. One, for my fantastic co-host Ella. Thank you very much for coming on. Round of applause. You've been absolutely awesome as always.
You're the host with the most, so you make it easy.
You say the nicest things. But look, if you want to check Ella out again and see more of her, she will, as I said, she'll be at the watch along. I will be doing the Invincibles podcast with Mr. Lee Judges. That will be getting released on Friday afternoon. So please check that out if you want to hear me and him going at it a bit more. And then we've got the big one. Like I say, do not miss that watch along. Please, guys, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please get involved in a future show. And please drop in the comments if you like the show and what you want to see more of. It all helps us to create better content for you guys to watch. So thank you. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate all the love, all the support from everyone. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. I'm Marty. That's been Ella. That's been Ella. This has been AFTV. This has been AFTV. Take care. See you later.